Right now we're at Fairfield County, right outside of Columbus, man, on the Empowerment Workshop Tour. Myself, Cardell Sims, Brandon Lasses, man, all formerly incarcerated individuals going in, knock this workshop out. Entrepreneurship, resume building, vision boarding, and a whole lot of resources for the men that's incarcerated. You know, this is something that's never really been done before on the tour going throughout the country, man. You about to lay it down. And so, documentary coming soon. Peace.
How many of y'all got a vision for yourself when you get out? Vision, put your hands up. You got a vision. What you know you're gonna do when you get out?
I said, well, I'm gonna get back to what I know. I'm going to treat my incarceration like I'm in school. And that's exactly what I did.
I took the franchise from 1.4 million to 2.6 million in 18 months. They put me on news, I made Black Enterprise, I made Success Magazine, I made Entrepreneur.
That's telling me that I gotta change people I'm dealing with. Whether it's wife, family, kids, whatever.
If you go to jail and you're incarcerated for doing something wrong, and they take you away from the community for so long, and then split you right back into it. If you're out there without any type of social skills or survival tactics, how are you gonna be expected to succeed?
Well, out of all my time of being incarcerated, I've never had this experience. I've never had other guys that was incarcerated that has become entrepreneurs, role models. I've never ran into you guys. Hope. I would describe this workshop that's going on with you guys as hope.
The reentry workshop today, I think it was really good. Everybody was so captivated by what was going on. I probably could have told the COs, like, you know, go have a seat.
The reentry tour that we just did was phenomenal. All it takes is that spark. That is our jobs as leaders and speakers, is to empower them. And that sparking that is going to make them want to change, you know? So that's the best opportunity. You guys did phenomenal. You're interactive, you are real with them. And I think that we need more people like you doing that, because that's the only way for them to relate.
Attorney Jarrett Adams wants to right wrongs.
I can shake your hand. They can't keep me from doing that.
In a Wisconsin jail, he meets with his client, whom he believes was wrongfully convicted of rape. He hopes the judge will now free him after 30 years behind bars.
We hope everything will go well and we're able to just see you walk out of here tomorrow.
Jarrett is not your typical defense attorney. In fact, you could say he knows the law from the inside out.
Although I received my diploma from Loyola Law School in Chicago, I started law school in Green Bay Correctional Facility.
Jarrett was wrongfully convicted himself. He was 17 when he was arrested, accused of sexually assaulting a student at the University of Wisconsin, a crime he denied from the start.
In these cases, there's always that moment of, this will get cleared up very quickly.
You know, my only encounter with the criminal court system was Law and Order. And that theme music comes on, you don't see guys who are wrongfully convicted go to prison.
But Jarrett did, a 28-year sentence, convicted after his court-appointed attorney chose not to put on a defense, even though there was a witness who could have helped clear him.
When this guy is telling us, look, we know you didn't do it, they haven't proven their case, the best defense is a no defense strategy. We're like, yeah, that sounds good, because we don't know any better, right? But in reality, it was a horrible idea.
A cellmate convinced Jarrett to keep fighting. Jarrett spent his days in the prison law library. He wrote letters and finally caught the attention of the Wisconsin Innocence Project. Keith Finley took up his case.
He had done his homework. He knew the case factually better than anybody, and he knew the law. He said, look, the issue we're going to win on is that ineffective assistance of counsel claim. You got to lead with that. You got to argue that.
Jarrett was correct. It was the argument that caused the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn his conviction. After nearly 10 years in prison, Jarrett was free, reminded, though, by a family photo album of what he'd lost.
I started to just look at the evolution of me as a kid, just, you know, growing up, pre-K, kindergarten, graduation, birthdays, and then I turned the next page, and I didn't see another picture of me until I was 26, 27 years old.
It's like a piece of your life just was erased.
Just forever gone.
But Jarrett's remarkable and at times ironic journey was just beginning. He went to college, graduated law school, and clerked at the same court that tossed out his conviction. And then last summer was hired as a lawyer by the Innocence Project in New York, the same organization that successfully argued his appeal.
What must it be like for you to walk in these doors every day as an attorney?
There is no sweeter joy than to be on this side of the law.
His to-do list, freeing other wrongfully convicted inmates.
This is hopeful, and this is just filed.
Which brings us back to Wisconsin and Jarrett's client, serving time in the same prison Jarrett once did. His name is Richard Baranek.
He's not simply presumed innocent of these crimes. He is innocent.
In June, his conviction was overturned based on new DNA testing. Jarrett's first win as a lawyer.
What's up, man? Where the handcuffs at? You look free.
And completing this improbable circle, Jarrett's co-counsel on the Baranek case was Keith Finley, the lawyer who helped free Jarrett 10 years ago.
It's a storybook tale that you wouldn't believe until you saw it.
And Keith, you're part of the storybook too. I mean, do you just shake your head sometimes to watch the full circle that Jarrett has been on?
It's incredible. I mean, I've been amazed at every step of the journey.
Nothing pays me back more, or my family more, than me walking in the same court, in the same state, where they didn't even look at me when they gave me 28 years. But now they have to acknowledge me as Attorney Adams.
The reentry journey. What would be one word to describe this journey?
Heartache. Enriching.
Gratitude.
Unapologeticness.
Hope.
Elevating. Passion.
Resilience.
I say transformation.
Determination.
Intention.
My word is compassion.
Rebirth.
Intentional.
It's bigger than just walking down your probation and parole. It's changing your mindset, lifestyle, and never returning to prison again. It's the reentry journey with Cardale Sims. All right, man, we are back with another episode of the reentry journey. And before we get started, this episode of the reentry journey is brought to you by I'm So. That's right, I'm So. Inspire, motivate, and support others. So shout out to DJ Walker and the I'm So team, and keep pushing the movement.
I'm So is an acronym for inspire, motivate, and support others. Also, I'm So in the dictionary or English terms is to a great extent, beyond normal. And I took that and spun it in a positive way to make it to where everything you do is extra. Everything you do is above average. It's going hard, is striving to be the very best version of yourself.
All right, man, we are back with a new guest on the Reentry Journey podcast. And our guest, just to give you a little bit about his background, our guest is a renowned criminal defense attorney, advocate, and public speaker who has made waves in the legal community over the years. He has helped free multiple individuals wrongfully convicted of serious crimes and has been a vocal advocate for increased criminal justice reform. At the age of 17, he was convicted of a crime he did not commit and was sentenced to 28 years in maximum security. While incarcerated, Mr. Jarrett Adams studied the legal system that wronged him and how his constitutional rights were violated. In 2007, after serving nearly 10 years and filing multiple appeals, Mr. Adams was exonerated with the assistance of the Wisconsin Innocence Project. Since then, Mr. Adams has pursued a career in law to advocate for the undeserved and founded Life After Justice to help individuals who have been wrongfully convicted and subsequently exonerated reintegrate into society and rebuild their lives. His memoir, Redeeming Justice, recounts his wrongful conviction and his exoneration. I'd like to welcome no other to the reentry journey, Mr. Jarrett Adams. Welcome to the reentry journey.
I appreciate you having me, brother. It's an honor to be here and to share this platform with you.
Oh, man, I appreciate you being the guest. And most importantly, I appreciate the work that you're doing and your story, which we're going to get into, how you transformed what you went through and came back and helped those that been through what you went through, either give that time back, and then when they get out, helping them re-enter properly back into society. Man, I salute you for that work. So can you tell us a bit about what it was like being in prison for a crime that you didn't commit, and how did you handle that emotionally?
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for having me on to share my story. I mean, I think that whether rightfully or wrongfully, the U.S. prison system isn't humane at all. So
right,
the experience that everyone gets, whether rightfully or wrongfully, is an experience of isolation, segregation, and downright dividing and conquering. To be quite honest with you, I think that everyone knows, from just what you see on the news, on TV, if you haven't experienced it, most of the people who reside in these jails, they come from cities. But where are prisons mostly located? They're mostly located on the tip of nowhere.
They're in the country.
Yeah, they're in the tip of nowhere. So it's that isolation, that emphasis on that isolation and its effect, on anyone is traumatic and detrimental. For me, I went through many different transitions in prison.
Okay.
Now, I was a 17-year-old falsely accused of a rape that from the very beginning, the police withheld the evidence to undermine the false allegation. So that's how my wrongful conviction took place and was overturned. The police withheld a statement. It was a he say, she say, but the witness pretty much undermined everything, and they withheld it from me and my co-defendants, and it sent me on a 10-year spiral of fighting for my innocence. And it just simply, it broke me down. I prayed to repair myself and wash, rinse, and repeat until I saw the light at the end of the tunnel that was the avenue home. And that was my way of being hopeful in a hopeless place.
And prior to this case happening, was you had any brush-ins with the law or anything like that? What was your upbringing like?
No, I mean, look, I came from a deep family in Chicago. I was the last grandchild, right? So for many people who come from where you and I come from, that baby boy, that baby girl is going to be protected from doing what the older siblings, didn't right? So I had a bunch of people watching me, a bunch of people encouraging me to stay out the streets, go to school. So I never got into like run-ins with the law, getting arrested or anything like that. I had a trajectory of where I was going to school, and that's what makes this even scarier. And that is what woke me up to understand you ain't got to be doing nothing wrong. You can just fit the wrong historical narration of Black people and brown people in our society, and that's enough to get your life taken.
Right, most definitely. And when the case came, without you, being like having brush-ins with the law or anything like that, and then they arrest you for this accusation, in your mind, did you feel like I ain't finna do no prison time? The truth's it's gonna play itself out before it comes to all that.
Man, Cardell, let me tell you this. So
basically what I'm saying is, did you have faith in the justice system? Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Let me tell you this. My experience was with Law and Order, you would hear about cousins or something in the family getting locked up, but I wasn't privy to the information of how the system worked. I was isolated from that. So I legitimately can remember this like it was yesterday. So I'm listening to the many different stories being lodged, by our accuser, and it wasn't adding up. And I'm saying to myself, man, when I get home, I got a lot of cleaning up to do and a lot of this. I'm thinking about, am I going to make it on time to register for college? Because like I said, I was on my way to college. I'm not even fathoming that a lie could result in something like this. And it wouldn't be based on the outlandish story. It would be based on who the jury believed people of color were. I had an all-white jury, a white accuser. Only thing of color in the courtroom was me, my co-defendants, and a judge in the lawyer's clothing. That was it.
That's crazy. And this was in Chicago.
This was actually in Wisconsin. Chicago borders. Okay. Chicago borders. Yeah. And this right there. For folks who want to, look at the whole entire thing, I would say read the book. The book is detailed as to how everything went down. But to give you a short pitch of it. When you living in Chicago, you growing up in the 90s, and you can't just ride around and have a good time, right? Because either you ducking the police or bullets from gangs that probably ain't intending to shoot you. So me and my friends would jump in the car. We would go to different places to go to parties. Like we'd go to a college party. At least there, Cardi, I never went to a college party in the 90s where I had to worry about somebody, breaking out a stick and shooting in that boy, right?
Right.
And so for us, it was a mechanism for young Black boys who wanted to get out of the danger of Chicago to go party in peace. And so that's what we did. We drove to Wisconsin. We each told our parents we were spending the night over the other one house. Everybody didn't use that alibi, right? Go up to this party, come back from the party, and think it's all good until literally a month later when I get a knock on my door and they trick me to come down to the police station.
Man, that's crazy. That's wild. And I know in your memoir, you detailed the wrongful conviction, and eventually being exonerated after 10 years, nearly 10 years. During that 10 years, can you kind of walk us through the process, like of your emotions, that emotional process during that decade?
The emotional process was this. I'm a 17-year-old. I'm now turning 18, 19, 20, 21. In the midst of all of this, my life stops while all else life continues outside. That's growth without you, right? I'm getting letters from folks I was supposed to be in college with, and they like, man, hope you're doing well. They sending pictures, they in the dorm room. Hey, that shit was crushing, man. Like, it was difficult for me to look at that, and it made me go into a shell of isolation and depression. So I remember that I'm locked up. The prison goes on lockdown. Something happened where somebody, got up with somebody real good with a mop wringer. So they, this guy got attacked and they locked the whole prison down. And essentially, they're trying to see if it's going to be a riot, a war, or whatever it was, or if it was an isolated incident. So I'm locked up for the first time. I'm in the cell with my cellie. We didn't have a conversation because he worked in a law library. I barely would see him until he was coming in for lockdown. So we had a conversation about my case because I was talking on the phone during the lockdown in Green Bay Correctional, Walpond Correctional. You could get the phone in your cell, like the phone jack will be up here, and it can slide to about 4 to 5 different cells on individual phone nights. That's how they did it in the joint that I was in. It'd be the first 7 cells Monday, the next 7 cells Tuesday, stuff like that. Even during lockdown, you'll have your phone privileges. So I called my mother and my mother tapped in like my aunts on three-way. And I'm explaining to them because they like, man, how do you get 28 years, never been in trouble before, and based just on the accusation that wasn't consistent? That's all it took. So I'm trying to explain to them, well, my limited high school, Chicago public school education, and I'm just, I'm struggling. At the same time, my cellmate is listening to me, and he just like, man, if you don't mind, I ain't being in your business, but I'm confused. And I say, well, what's your confusion? He like, I heard you telling your folks you're innocent, you shouldn't be here. But each and every day you get up when these bars break and you go play chess, you go play basketball. I mean, you don't act like you locked up for something you didn't do. So it was that conversation that led to me going to go look at the first case, Strickland versus Washington.
I was going to ask what got you, what made you start studying the law? When did you? But you already just answered that.
Yeah. It was a real recognition that Calvary ain't coming, bro. I got to create that.
Straight up.
So I did, and then to finish answering your question, the evolution went from isolation, depression to, man, if my mama and them ain't giving up on me, if these old ladies are coming up here, slipping, falling, breaking their leg in the wintertime to come and visit me and breathe life in me, how dare me give up on me, right? So I went from that to I'm about to fight. And I started to study the law. My letters went from I'm innocent and get me out to look, I'm innocent. My case directly is supported by Strickland versus Washington, ineffective assistance of counsel. I started talking the lingo the more I got familiar and acclimated. And to get through the rest of the anguishing years before exoneration, I set up in a law library and I was a tutor. And I also helped men give back time, get back visits with their kids, unlock their release accounts, just trying to be impactful, man, and take my mind off this madness and this craziness, because that's the thing about prison. If you allow yourself to acknowledge that your physical body is confined, that's one thing, but you can never let them confine your dreams, your thoughts, your passion, your faith.
Right, straight up. And with the work that you was doing on the inside, like you saying, I can see the role that you're talking about. Like I used to be the type that used to be on the yard. You know what I'm saying? I've been to prison 5 times. It took me 5 times before it clicked. Right, but I used to be early on. I used to get locked up. I used to be the guy on the yard catching the conduct violations, the CDVs, and I had to buy all that. And I used to go always try to find the inmate counselor to go there and fight for me. Or just like one time we went on a food strike, because back in the day when I first started doing time, you was able to order out of East Bay and everything. Like you used to be on the yard deck.
I remember East Bay.
I'm talking about people in the yard with Jordans on, jumps,
right?
And the CEOs didn't like that. Like you said, the prison is in the middle of nowhere, so the people they hire is from the middle of nowhere, and they ain't really like that. So they talking about y'all can't wear that type of clothes on the yard. So we went on a food strike, but we had the inmate council people. They, you know what I'm saying, they was inmates, but they was smart on the law. They would go speak on our behalf and release that. So I understand the work, saying that you were doing and things like that. So how did you transition that to when you got released, when you got exonerated? And
it was
moving that way.
It was another moment, man, of just being pissed. You know what I mean? Like, look, so my conviction is reversed by the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. So now they give orders back to the court that wrongfully convicted me to either release him in 120 days or retry him. So at this time, I had got a good defense attorney, man. This dude was retired from the public defender's office. I think he was at home taking care of his wife, saw me on the news,
and was like, I'm gonna take his case. You know what I mean? So I was the only case he had. He did everything. He was like, man, look, they may not admit this in court, but let's do a lie detector. Let's do everything. Let's blow this out the water. Because what they did was they offered me time served. And I told them they could put their gym shoes on and go kick the biggest rock they can find. Because they don't, you must be nuts if you think I'm finna admit and plead to something I didn't do to resolve something that y'all did do wrongfully to me. So we do all of that. And I'm thinking that for the first time, my mom, my two aunts, they're going to be in the courtroom, the same courtroom that paraded me around as an animal. They're going to now hear this court say that they got it wrong and apologize. I get there in about a matter of moments, seconds. Prosecutor stands up, says, look, man, we're going to dismiss the charges and release him. We're not going to retry the case. The judge was like, all right, slammed the gavel, turned around, took off from the back. Prosecutor took off in that door. And I turned around to the same familiar face of those wrinkles and creases of anguish, man. And I told my mother and them, we done crying. And I'm going to make sure they ain't acknowledge us today. I'm going to do something that's going to make them acknowledge us and what they did and what they tried to do, if it means the death of me. So I got out that day, come home, got the much necessary needed decompression of therapy, and talking to good brothers like yourself who had some years out, reintegrated, and they all reminded me and encouraged me that I came home with something that's invaluable, even though I went through all of that. And that invaluable thing I came home with was my youth. I was 17 when it happened. I got out when I was 26, turning 27 years old, and I still had the youth. And they told me don't waste no time with it, or I'm going to regret it. So I got out, enrolled back in the same college I was going to go to 10 years before. I graduated with my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, my law degree, and then I clerked in the same Seventh Circuit Court that overturned my conviction before I took the bar and started to work at the Innocence Project.
Oh, wow. What was your first case that you took on?
The first case I took was a case that this brother's at home right now, and his name is Kevin Bailey. That was the first case that we got an overturned conviction on. The second one was a guy named Richard Baranek. His conviction was also reversed. He's out right now. And that was covered by NBC Lester Hope. So, you know, I'll put that in the chat. Anybody can see it and catch up with it. But it tells about me working in the same, you know, court state system that I was wrongfully convicted. And get this. So check this out. The guy, Richard Baranek, me and him was locked up in Green Bay together. And he was trying to get me to look at his case. I just didn't have time. I was overwhelmed. But I always believed he was telling the truth by how he approached me, brother. You know what I'm saying when I say that, right? You know, right. He approached me, and the level of transparency, I just didn't have time to get to it. So if you look at how the stars aligned, 10 years from the month that I'm released from prison, I'm representing this man in court as he's being exonerated.
And how did that make you feel?
It's priceless.
When you seen the full circle.
It's priceless. You know, it's priceless. It was affirmation. You know, because look, getting out. Me and you we're gonna probably be doing this a couple more times. You know, because it's so much layers to our stories, right? Right. And we never know what challenged and tested us will be able to be faith, confidence, and affirmation for others to keep going, right?
Right.
And so getting out was a full road, man. It was a full trend, you know, going to law school. I'm in my 30s, I'm in law school. I'm older than everybody else pretty much that I'm in law school with. I'm working around the clock. At the time, I was an investigator at the Federal Public Defender's Office. So I'm in Chicago, serving subpoenas, you know, getting chased by pit bulls on the south and west side, like this crazy stuff, right? And looking for witnesses to help support our guys' cases because we representing, you know, defendants pro bono through the Federal Public Defender's Office. So I got the chance to see the nuts and bolts of how it worked from both the defender's office, how important an investigator is. Man, how important it is for somebody just to send you a damn letter, right? So having that experience and then getting a chance to apply what I had learned both in prison, on my way to getting my law degree, and seeing this man for the first time with no handcuffs on with his daughter, who had never even gotten a chance to get to know who he was because he was locked up for so long, it was priceless.
And so let's talk about life after justice. Explain to the people exactly what life after justice is.
This is what life after justice is. So life after justice was me taking my journal of life, of how I got here. And I ain't get here by myself, man. I'm not going to sit up here and stick my chest out like a 10-foot peacock and told you I did it by myself and I knew I was going to do it. The truth is, there were many different people in the community, such as yourself, who extended their palms to me, gave me platforms, gave me opportunity. And I took advantage of those and didn't want anybody who took a chance on me to ever say that they regretted it. So going through that and getting through it, there was still a sense of emptiness in my heart, man. I remember feeling like I finally made it to the mountaintop. And when you graduate from law school, you know, they don't give you the actual diploma there. They'll mail it to you. And I remember my mother telling me that it had came. And she asked me what I want her to do with it. So I came over and I told her I just wanted to see it, but I wanted her to have it. And she says, I'll take it, but you got to promise me something. I'm like, what's that? She says, I don't never want you to forget how isolated and lonely we were on that island when there wasn't nobody but me, you, and your aunts up against this big old thing called the system. You're going to have an opportunity to make money, but please don't forget to make a difference in the lives of people who was just like us when we just wanted somebody to help us. So with that, I created Life After Justice, and I thought I incorporated the things that work for me, right? For example, we have an emphasis on mental health care. I really believe that, you know, one of the reasons why I was excited to get on here was we're talking about the reentry journey and how important that is. Well over 50% of the people who are incarcerated have been incarcerated before. And so is that a problem with the prison, or is that a problem with the efforts, resources, and what we're doing to help people reenter into society? I say it's both, but the low-hanging fruit is us starting with reentry. Because if you think about this in an analogy, right? Think if this was a car company, and on average, well over 50% of the cars came back to the production line within 2 to 3 years because something was wrong with it. Boy, they would shut that damn car company down. They would have a debate on Congress about what in the world is going on with your cars. So why, why are we not having that same debate about the incarceral system? Why aren't we holding people accountable and saying, man, what's wrong with these numbers of people who are coming out if you calling this the Department of Corrections? Because if you're not, then let's just call it the Department of Warehousing, and you continue on as operating this business. You know? So with that, I wanted to just incorporate what worked. It was community. It was therapy. It was, of course, the lawyer work. So we have 3 different buckets. We have the mental health care therapy piece, which is important. We have the innocence component, which we have an amazing legal director. I provide, a lot of the litigation until we're able to get the funding up to fill it out with lawyers and paralegals and stuff like that. So we do it that way, as well as I can't tell you how difficult it is to watch celebrations now of people who are getting their convictions reversed, because I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and while I'm happy for their freedom, I'm terrified at their journey to reentry.
Right. Man, that's strong. You might have to say that again. You're happy for their freedom, but you're terrified for their journey on the reentry. And some might ask why. Why are you terrified?
There are so many instances where I probably wouldn't be on this show with you today, getting out. And I mean innocent things like this. I get out. Ain't no pay phones or none of that. When I was locked up in 1998, and we had pagers, okay? If you had a cell phone, that boy was about as long as your arm and the antenna was as long as your leg, okay? Getting out, the south side of Chicago had changed when I came home 2007. So neighborhoods ain't the same no more, right? You go, you think you know, but you don't know, right? You go try to get your ID. You down at the DMV Secretary of State all day because you don't know what to bring. And you probably ain't even got what they want because all you got is a prison ID. So
that's it.
All of those moments, for me and you, we compartmentalize, we got to keep going. But for some sisters and brothers, and I want to make sure I speak about the sisters who are increasingly being locked up and released with no
increasingly
as well. It's
increasingly.
Cardell, everybody got a different breaking point, man. And if there's anything that we can do to make sure that we fill those potholes on that road to reentry, that you don't have to trip and stumble and break your car on, then that's what Life After Justice is about. And that's why the policy component is the third bucket. We have to go from the pictures and the smiles to the litigation that protects our babies from going through the same journey of wrongful convictions that we have. If you can have a camera on virtually anything these days, you explain to me why there's not a camera covering every interaction with police, accusers, and the accused. I mean, that's real transparency that we as a society deserve.
That's real talk. That's real talk. And that's what that's the lack of is that transparency.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The lack of transparency is really the biggest issue. I know, and not just in the communities, but even when those that get shipped off to prison.
Yeah.
Your family really don't know their family don't really know what's going on with you.
Yeah. And that anxiety is look, it's one thing for a brother or sister to get incarcerated, whether rightfully or wrongfully. That prison and being isolated away from your family, that's the punishment. That's what you're serving time. It's these layered punishment stuff, right? Where, what do you mean it costs $20 for the first minute to make a phone call and 10 cents after? You know what I mean? Like, come on, how is it that I could order 25 bags of Doritos off a canteen, but you only get 10 stamps a week, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. You go all bag chips, it's a limit on them stamps.
Yeah. So it's stuff like
crazy.
That. It's stuff like that is designed to break our will. It ain't got nothing to do with the punishment. The punishment of being in prison, being isolated, not being free. That's the punishment. All this 2 showers a week, eat the worst of the worst. When I got out, I had a hard time eating potatoes when I got out. Okay, because we get potatoes damn near 3 times a day if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah, you're gonna
You
get a
know?
baked potato, you're gonna get mashed potatoes, you're gonna get fries, or in the morning you're gonna get the breakfast potatoes.
That's it. That's it. So that stuff isn't a part of prison. And let me tell you this. This is when I was thinking about coming on here. I use a lot of analogies because as a young Black man in front of a lot of federal all-white juries, I have to find a way to relate to them and use analogies. So let me tell you what I was thinking about with your reentry podcast, the issue of reentry and what the prison system does. Imagine if we were parachuting out of a plane and I'm like, look, Cardell, just take this parachute, jump, okay? You'll figure out a way to put it on the way down, right? Some people might get that parachute open, but for the most part, it's going to be a lot of casualties because before they were pushed out the plane, they didn't properly put the parachute on and learn how to pull it so that way they could safely land once being pushed out. Look at what they do in the prison system. They literally don't give you any programming or anything until you're months away from release, right? You've been in here for damn near a decade, years at a time, but we're going to wait until the end to give you the tools necessary to make sure that you're able to reintegrate. You tell me how that's different than pushing somebody out of a plane, handing them the damn parachute and saying good luck.
It ain't no different to it. That's why when I came out of prison this last time, I built my program. That's why I named it On the Inside Reentry Academy.
Yeah,
because we going on weekend. I respect the reentry programs, and those that's putting the work in that's on the outside. But for my experience running in and out of prison, there never was programmed coming from someone who was formerly incarcerated. There definitely wasn't none of that. And then your other programs was majority faith-based, and it was always towards the end of your sentence or when you was about to get out. Now they want to connect you with your institutional parole officer. They want to connect you to this. You take this reentry thing before you leave and all of that.
Right.
And the reality is, no, you got to have these many different programs while a person is locked up. That's what the system is missing. Adequate programs that's going to give someone a vocational skill or technical, some kind of skill trade that they can use walking out, and mental health programs, true mental health, because that's another thing. How we incarcerate people, right? That most likely their incarceration, what led to their incarceration is some form of trauma in their childhood. Then we putting them in a more traumatized environment.
Yeah.
Adding all of these other things on you, like you said, we paying $40 for a phone call.
Yes.
We ain't got nobody seeing us.
Yeah.
Man, it's just so many different labels. You gotta wake up, it's fighting and people screaming all night. Like, man, you can go on about added trauma while being incarcerated.
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
And not having nobody in there to really address this outside of you saying, all right, here go this pill, take this pill, and we're gonna put you on this med, and then in 6 months to a year, you don't even know who you are no more.
Yeah, I mean,
just
wait totally out of it.
Yeah. You just wait for med call. You wake up every day waiting for pill line.
Yeah.
You don't do nothing else.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say mental health. You gotta have the mental health programs in there.
Yeah.
Because it is much needed.
Absolutely.
Specialists. Yeah, man. I definitely agree with you. That's like you said, that's like saying, here, just jump on out, man, and jump on out this plane and with this parachute and figure it out on your way.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't hit the ground before you can figure it out.
To your point too, just think about this. So most of the folks I'm locked up with, and I'm sure the same is for you, they come from these neighborhoods, right? right? Whether that be in a neighborhood of the Bronx or Queens or whatever it is, right? Or whether that be in New Rochelle, you know what I'm saying? In every in every city, there's a pocket, right? You know what I'm saying? Of folks who ain't taken care of like they should be. And so
exactly,
when you think about that, you're literally putting people who don't have post-traumatic stress in an anxiety-filled place. You're putting people who have persistent traumatic stress inside of these institutions, because we come from these neighborhoods where the violence has become normalized, right? A lot of kids in the city of Chicago that I represent, including in New York, they are desensitized by death. It doesn't bother them anymore, right? And that's not normal. You know, I could go on and on and on about what you see in our neighborhoods and you don't see in other neighborhoods, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
You know, so as much as these issues are the same issues, they find their way to morph into different injustices, right? But they're the same injustice. And we're not getting out of this unless we find a way to link arms, man. Like it can't be that everybody want to do their own thing. That ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? And we are only at this point the minorities because we haven't figured out how to work together to become the majority.
Exactly. I agree with that there. And I mean, collaboration is huge.
Indeed.
And that's the only way. It's kind of like, it's the old saying: "Together we stand, divided we fall." I mean, that's just what it really is.
Yeah.
I want to ask, you know, with you being an attorney now, you know, what advice would you give to public defenders and court-appointed lawyers to better serve their clients?
Well, I think what has to happen now is this. I think that we're in a good place in terms of gathering and using data, right? And what I mean is we have to start to make arguments that are supported by the statistical problems that we're having in these neighborhoods that are leading to this mass incarceration. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. City of Chicago played with guns. That's nothing new. But what many people outside of Chicago don't know is there's not a gun manufacturer, a bullet manufacturer, not in the state of Illinois. So how all of these weapons and these devices that turn these semis into automatic weapons are getting there is by coming from different states, mainly Indiana, and straw purchases from Mississippi that make their way up, you know, to Chicago. So what I've been doing and what I've been arguing is what the fuck it is, right? I'm like, Judge, right? My guy should not have been armed at all, Your Honor. But where does it come from? If we're able to now hold pharmaceuticals accountable for the opioids crisis, when are we going to start to hold gun manufacturers accountable for the carnage that's going on with our babies in the streets, in the cities of Philly, Baltimore, Chicago, New York? When, man? When?
Straight up.
And that's what I would encourage defenders' offices, court-appointed counsel. We need to start to collect this data and these numbers and use that in these court filings so that way we can track to be able to one day use all of this data to say this to gun companies. Look, if it take my face and my finger to now open up my phone, you better figure it the hell out with these guns because they're killing our kids. period.
Straight up. I got a question because since we own that and you were talking about, because we don't have that in Missouri. There's not no gun manufacturer or none of that in Missouri, right?
Yeah.
And if you get caught with a gun in Missouri on the federal level, so I done seen them try to hit dudes with like international trafficking or something like, I can't think of the exact legal name, but it's basically because you got a gun in Missouri that wasn't made in Missouri. I done seen them hit it with that. So do they do that?
Yeah, they do that. I mean,
what they do.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
When the feds pick it up, they do it because any gun. Look, honestly, you know, you can track a serial number and you can tell where the guns are made and stuff like that. So what the feds do to put the squeeze on people is they charge you with a gun trafficking as well, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
If you didn't purchase it legally and its origin is from Mississippi to Missouri, then that's that charge right there. Now they're using it in a way of, okay, how do we stop gun violence in St. Louis and East Boogie and Chicago and all of that? But Cardell, you already know what time it is. Like, look, you're not gonna lock your way up out this situation. You're not gonna lock your way up out of it.
Straight up. Oh man. So what advice do you have for others who are incarcerated but are innocent?
Yeah. So look, if you guys check out my website, social media, I got a video on there called How to Obtain a Pro Bono Attorney. And I really think that that's a video that should be shared and digested and regurgitated as much as possible, because I think that is where people should start. Start with this. Gather your entire record from the first police report and 911 call all the way to your last filing in court. Get all of that stuff together on an electronic zip drive and a cloud base. At that point, you want to start to work on a letter. That letter can't be 30 pages long, brother and sister who listening to me. That letter got to be between 1 and 2 pages, tight and succinct. And you identify attorneys who do the work, and you get their email address. You attach the letter, you attach the electronic link to the entire file, and you ask for help that way. Because the easier you make it for an attorney when you're asking for pro bono help, the harder it is for us to say no. The one commodity that we don't have enough of in the legal field is time, brother. It's only so much of us we can give. And so a lot of people call my office and be downright mad I can't take their case, cussing me out, Cardell. Like, you know what I mean? How dare you went through this? You can't get other people through it. Little do they know, man, we spend $100,000 a year of hours out of my law firm. My law firm is separate and apart. We do civil 1983, wrongful arrest, wrongful conviction, excessive force. We take proceeds and invest it into the nonprofit so that way it can help as many people as possible, man. And that is why I say, if you can save time for the person that you're asking for help, come correct. And let me tell you this also, if everything I just told you, if you go and do that in a week, you ain't done it right. You ain't done it right. It's going to take you time to get that letter right. It's going to take you time to get that entire file. Don't take a shortcut on your life. Take the time it needs. Focus on that. Focus on that. And lastly, stay off them damn phones, man. All right? Stop telling your whole game plan on a recorded line. They be listening. When you know, just because they don't ever play it back for you, don't mean they ain't been listening on those phone calls. There has been litigation being done where it has been found that attorney phone calls have been listened into with inmates and clients. Just stay off the phone, man. Stay off the phone.
Straight up. Hey, I got a homeboy got a license in extra 25 for armed criminal action on the phone.
On the phone.
On the phone. That's crazy. Stay, like you said, stay off them phones. I got two more questions. One is, how can regular people get involved with your cause?
You know what I would do? Anyone hearing me, wherever you're located, on a free Monday, I want you to go to your criminal courthouse and I want you to sit in the bond initial appearance courtroom. And I want you to look at who comes in and out and just pay attention. I want you to start to hop around different courtrooms. We need to stop going into the election booth and just doing abracadabra, picking anybody and vote. We'll vote for the president, vote for the people in the White House that we know. The real impact is in your county. Go to your county and stop voting in judges because they got a last name you like. Get to know the candidate, find out what they're doing. And that's how you make your vote impactful. That's how you can do your part. Get to know what's going on in your court system, because the real efforts to reform start from the ground up to the White House and not from the White House down to the ground. Although there are things that the White House could do to incentivize each state to correct their justice systems.
Straight up. You got to start local. You got to start local. You got to make your impact. You got to make your impact local. Where I'm from, man, we had a corrupt sheriff, man, I can go on, but even for some years, prosecutor with him. They might even have something to do with one of my homeboys getting killed.
Yeah.
The city rallied together, went to the voting, got them up out of there. They had been holding rank for a long time. But it took for the citizens to come together and they realized the only way we're gonna get them up out of there is going to the vote, And not only did they get them up out of there, their supported person that they wanted for the new sheriff, they pushed him in there. Yeah. And I must say, he's been standing on everything that he said he would. I think he knows if he don't stand on, we can get you up out of there too. But that's important. You got to work the local. And then at the same time, I want to add to that, working with the local, you getting to know, you getting to have conversations with the sheriffs, getting to have conversations with prosecutors. They get to know who you are. City council meetings, like they know who I am. They know who Cardell. I don't be doing no faking. They know what I'm coming in. I'm trying to see what type of play y'all on as far as property in our community. Because I know before we know it, y'all been through something up over there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like they try to throw a homeless shelter over there in our community. They didn't want to put it nowhere else. They want to put a homeless shelter in our community.
Right in your block. Yeah, that's something else.
Yeah. No, hold on. No, they ain't happening. They ain't happening at all. Y'all gonna have to find somewhere else.
Instead of putting it in a place that had resources to support it, they gonna throw it in there like it's throwaway. It's something.
Like our side of the our community is the throwaway community. I mean, it's bad enough we don't have stores or nothing like that. We got a liquor store and a Dollar General.
That's
you
crazy.
Know what I'm saying? So now y'all just want to throw a homeless shelter over here. Nah, that ain't finna work. Nah, that ain't gonna go at all. And so, in our community, we got them elders that they ain't going for it. You know what I'm saying? And with me coming out of prison, finally getting it right, and they know, what I used to do in the streets, and and now they like, oh man, we got you, like Carter, you get okay, welcome. We waiting on you to get it right, So now with me, I'm kind of like that energy. Now I'm out there doing everything. But like you said, man, it starts local, man. You got to make them changes. If your homeboy is getting 15 years on the bag of dope, that ain't the White House problem. That's your local prosecutor.
Absolutely. That's the local prosecutor. You need to find out who the prosecutor, judges, and the federal AUSA who runs your district in your area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because especially like St. Louis County and Cook County and Chicago, bro, they refer cases to the feds all the time. You
Yes,
know,
they do it in Kansas City too.
Yeah.
And especially here within the last 10 years, they come up with every couple of years they come up with a new gang. This is the new gang act we implemented, and then they do a sweep. Yeah, so
all
it's
these,
crazy.
Just think about this. All of these mechanisms and tools and effort and energy they're exerting to just lock people up. This ghost dope. You got somebody tricking you, telling you come hit a sting and stash. You use the most vulnerable people who don't have anything and just looking for one little quick get over. You tempt the fate of their depleted pockets and encourage them to do something where ain't even no dope there and get them 100 years based on dope that ain't even there.
Man, it's crazy. I've been when I was getting all my cases in the beginning, I was getting state cases. My first case, I got probation, violated the probation, caught another case, went to trial. With the trial, lost. Wasn't no peers on my, just like it wasn't no peers. All white people lost. Got sentenced to 19 years, and went in and went out. But that was the state system. Like I was getting out, got violated for some gang charges on the murder investigation, stuff like that. And then when I went to the feds, when the feds picked us up, this is what I really understand. And this was my last prison trip. This is what I really understood the whole spectrum of the so-called judicial system and the game.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know nothing about no ghosts in the state. You got to catch this dope or something on me in my vicinity or whatever, and I might take it to trial. In the feds, it was a whole nother different ballgame. They got to talking about, you responsible for this. I'm like, man, I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Such and such said this, so we got you on the wiretap over here for this. And you be like, man, what are they? Yeah, that's ghost dope, ghost money. And then they turn the money and equivalent the money into dope. How do you take money and equivalent and turn it into a certain amount of dope weight and then give you the case for the dope weight? But this is currency. I'm like, oh, it's
let me tell you something.
This is a dirty game, boy.
Look, if my clients had a third of the money that they be accused of at sentencing, they wouldn't have even been in the courthouse, okay? Like they wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? So it's just something else, man. It really is.
Man, that's crazy. So the last question I got, and I ask everyone who comes on to the podcast this question. And the question is, if you had one word to describe your journey, that journey from being falsely accused, getting sentenced, convicted, fighting to get your life back, getting exonerated, doing the work that you do now with Life After Justice, being an attorney. If you had one word to describe the journey, what would that one word be and why?
I'll use one word, but I can think of a couple different words to say. The one word I'll land on is thrive, right? Because in order to thrive, it means that you're overcoming elements that are against you thriving, right? And I think that it embodies everything that I went through, everything that I'm doing to help other brothers and sisters get through it. So my whole mantra in life is this: struggle, strive, sustain, survive, and then thrive. That's it.
There it is. Thrive. Man. Thrive. So any contact information that you want to leave to those who may be tuning in? How can they get in touch with you? Websites? Where can they go to get the memoir?
You can go wherever books are sold to get, redeeming justice, right? You can go wherever books are sold. And you check this picture out, you see me, that's my 17-year-old booking photo. And then that's me in court at the bottom. right? Full transition, man. Like I said, this book ain't what you think it is. This book is more encouragement to no matter what gets in your way, go over, around, or right through it. But you got to keep going. So look me up, JarrettAdamsLaw.com. If you're looking for innocence type work, mental health care, look up lifeafterjustice.org. And we're gonna continue to do what we can in the community, and we hope that other people come, link arms, and extend their palms as well to other people in need.
There you go. Before we go, I do want to say, when you reach back there and grab that book, I seen that jewel you got sitting back on there. I don't know. A lot of people don't know about that book, Jump.
Which one?
Jump.
Look. I'm gonna tell you.
I've been trying to get him on my podcast.
Yeah.
Boy, I want to hear that story.
Yeah, the book is dope. It's a dope book. And I rotate. When I'm trying to take my mind off of writing these briefs and reading all this law, I crack open a book and take my mind off it. Another good one is Righting My Wrongs by Shaka Senghor.
Okay.
It's a good book, bro. Some brother, he was locked up, got out. Was talking about how he missed out on a relationship with his son, his things going through in prison, and now he's out right now, man. He was sitting on Oprah's couch and in the book club. So there are many different stories of us thriving.
Thriving, exactly. Thriving, most definitely.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming on the reentry journey, sharing your story, sharing the work that you're doing. And man, it feels good to know, and I know it does to those that you're helping out. Bringing that hope and saying, man, we got somebody who been where we've been, who's going through what we're going through. Who got our back.
No doubt.
And I know that feeling is great. So I just want to say thank you. I salute you. I honor you for that. And I'll be looking to collaborate. Now, my goal is to double back next year and host another empowerment tour across the country like I did this year.
Okay.
We're going with all successful formerly incarcerated educators, and then we just go in there and host workshops. We go in there and teach, and and help those do exercise and stuff and getting their lives together. So I would love to see you. Hopefully we get the chance to double back. I would love to have you come out to some institutions and
absolutely
and share your story and stuff like that, man. Just to continue to show them that, like you said, that there are us out here that's thriving.
Indeed. Sign me up, brother.
Most definitely. I'll be reaching out.
Okay.
But again, thank you for coming on, sharing your story. And for those of you that are tuning in, make sure that you get the contact information and you reach out to the brother, and get involved because we need like you said, it takes for us to come together and to do this. And for those on the inside that's going to be watching this, he gave y'all some game on what to do.
Mm-hmm.
He gave y'all some game. So slow the podcast down, move the line back, and listen to it and write it down because he gave you the game. And like you said, if it take you a week, you need to go back and do it again. So you're going to do it right. You're going to do it right, straight up, So with that being said, for everyone that's tuning in, especially those on the inside, you know what I always say, don't let the limitations of your background reduce the height of your potential. Outgrow what you are born into. This is the reentry journey. I am Cardell Sims, your host. This is another successful episode, and we are out. Thank you for tuning in.
I'm Cardell Sims, reentry consultant, motivational speaker, author, founder, owner of On the Inside Reentry Academy.
I've been to prison 5 times, county jails 4 times. Same type of lifestyle I live. Grew up in a poverty neighborhood. My mom was on crack. Father wasn't nowhere around.
Yeah, right now we're in Chicago, Illinois at Cook County Division 11, speaking to the participants at the Cook County Jail. We got entrepreneurship workshop, we got vision board, we got goal setting, we got parenthood, all led by formerly incarcerated individuals. It's about 8 or 9 of us here on today, so we're here to make impact and also to be able to inspire the men upon their release, they can be successful as well.
This was actually for my vision when I got out of prison. come back and give people the game, like how to be successful. And it's really all about having a vision. That's what I do in the workshop. Talk about having a vision for yourself, creating vision boards, how to set the goals to accomplish the vision.
First time you get incarcerated, you should be preparing for your release. What's the vision I got for my family? What's the vision I got to be a career?
All the times I was running in and out of prison, I ain't have a vision for myself. The only vision I seen was me going back to the block, hustling, selling crack, and I'm right back locked up. So the only time I came out of prison with a vision and prepared with an actual plan, I ain't never been back. The participants can't say, oh, you don't know what it's like. Like, I know what it's like. We can relate more. So that's my whole two goals, was bring hope for those on the inside and showcase the talent of successful formerly incarcerated educators. Journey. What would be one word to describe this journey?
Heartache. Enriching.
Gratitude.
Unapologeticness.
Hope.
Elevating. Passion.
Resilience.
I say transformation.
Determination.
Intention.
My word is compassion.
Rebirth.
Intentional.
It's bigger than just walking down your probation and parole. It's changing your mindset, lifestyle, and never returning to prison again. It's the reentry journey with Cardell Sims.